Я не знаю, я думаю, конечно, что Арман должен был драться за пояс. Но, не знаю, вот сейчас, если Арман, будем честны, Арман сейчас не подерется. Подерется Пимблett с Гейджи, кто бы из них не выиграл, подерутся с Тапурией. Это еще год должен Арман выстаивать. Я на интервью говорил, что с Усманом хочу подраться. Что-то медиа не верит в этот бой, я смотрю. Но мое личное мнение, Усман переедет этих всех пацанов, которые сейчас новые появились там. Тот же Моралес, тот же вот этот Пратес ударник.
Islam Makhachev has once again cleared his stand. So listen to this development. Islam just declared he wants Kamaru Usman as his next opponent. This isn't some throwaway comment either. In his mind, Usman represents the most dangerous test available in the entire welterweight landscape right now. Now here's where his thinking gets really compelling. The lightweight champion breaks down how most people are questioning this potential matchup. But Islam has this really interesting take on the whole situation. He's convinced that Usman would steamroll through all these emerging contenders in the division. When you really break it down, his reasoning makes complete sense. From Makhachev's perspective, these newer fighters climbing the ranks haven't been pushed to their breaking point yet. They haven't experienced that championship-level pressure that reveals who can handle the big moments and who crumbles under the spotlight. That's precisely why he views Usman as the most challenging fight he could possibly take right now. This isn't about finding an easier route to victory. This is about hunting down the most formidable opponent available.
Кто в идеале твой следующий соперник?
Я на интервью говорил, что с Усманом хочу подраться. Что-то медиа не верит в этот бой, я смотрю. Но мое личное мнение, Усман переедет этих всех пацанов, которые сейчас новые появились там. Тот же Моралес, тот же вот этот Пратес ударник. Это пацаны не проверенные еще. И я думаю, что Усман самый тяжелый бой был бы для меня. И в медийном плане мы смогли бы, как бывший чемпион, больше всего защит в моем весе. И мы смогли бы как-то хорошо продвинуть этот бой и показать тоже красивый бой.
So here's what Islam Makhachev is saying about his future. He's got this whole welterweight division opening up with potential matchups, and honestly, the opportunities are everywhere right now. The way he sees it, the division is loaded with possibilities, which puts him in this incredible position as champion. But here's what really stands out about his approach to all this. He's completely unbothered by whoever the UFC decides to put in front of him next. Like he's not sitting there trying to handpick favorable stylistic matchups or dodge anybody dangerous. According to him, he's already made it clear to the promotion that he'll take on anyone they offer, and that's a pretty fearless stance when you consider the absolute killers lurking in this weight class. His logic is simple but reveals everything about his mindset. He's planning to make welterweight his permanent home, defend his championship for years to come, and what really matters here is how confident he feels operating at this weight. That confidence is everything because it shows he's not just passing through welterweight for a money fight, he's moving in permanently with plans to rule.
Вариантов много, если честно, на мой вес сейчас как-то ожил Welterweight. Я думаю, сейчас вариантов очень много. Посмотрим, я вообще, мне без разницы. И все должны предложить скоро. Я сказал, если им бы не было без разницы, потому что я чувствую, что я смогу долго в этом весе себя пояс сохранить и себя там комфортно чувствовать.
So check this out. Shavkat Rakhmonov is calling out Islam Makhachev, but he's approaching it with this really smart, respectful angle. He's giving Islam props for his showing at UFC 322, which demonstrates class, but then he drops this really thought-provoking challenge that cuts straight to the core issue. He wants to discover whether Jack Della Maddalena simply wasn't himself that night, or if Islam truly performed at the elite level we witnessed inside that cage. When you think about it, that's actually a fair question to raise. Rakhmonov put it like this, and these were his actual words. I believe Islam delivered an impressive performance at UFC 322, but I need to determine whether Jack Della Maddalena was having an off night, or if Islam is genuinely operating at that elite level and performing as brilliantly as he appeared. That's exactly the competitive spirit you want from someone chasing a title shot. But wait, it gets even more interesting because Michael Morales is also hungry for that Islam Makhachev fight. And this guy is bringing serious attitude to the table. He's making it absolutely clear that he plans to speak his mind and has zero intention of holding back his personality, which is honestly refreshing to see. His goal is to force Makhachev to respect him. And here's the really intriguing part, whether it's through his wrestling game or his stand-up skills. And he specifically wants to accomplish this with Khabib sitting right there in Islam's corner, watching everything unfold. Morales actually says he's genuinely excited about that pressure-packed scenario, like he's thriving on the intensity of that moment. Listen to what Michael Morales said, and you can hear the self-belief in every word. I understand that Islam and his crew aren't fans of fighters like me who speak our minds freely, so I'm going to force him to respect me through my wrestling or my striking, right there in front of Khabib, and I'm genuinely looking forward to that moment. That's the type of confidence that either gets proven right in spectacular fashion or blows up completely. Now, Carlos Prates is also sharing what he's been hearing through the grapevine about Kamaru Usman potentially being lined up to face Islam Makhachev for the belt. And in this sport, rumors like that usually have some truth behind them. He suspects Makhachev is interested in that particular fight, partly because they're represented by the same management company, which is a behind-the-scenes factor that fans don't always think about. Business connections absolutely influence fight negotiation. Prates acknowledges the fight would present real problems for Makhachev, recognizing that Usman brings legitimate threats to the table, but when everything is said and done, he still doesn't see Usman walking away with the victory.
Como é que é você, assim, em termos de confiança? Você acredita que a próxima luta vai ser pelo cinturão? Você acha que vai precisar
Eu
mais uma rodada?
acredito que se o Kamaru Usman lutar pelo cinturão, eu tenho que fazer mais uma luta. Se não for o Kamaru Usman, acredito muito que vai ser.
Você acha que só ele pode falar da Fiona?
Acho que sim. Pelo que eu tô ouvindo aí, acho que sim.
E o que você acha dessa possibilidade de Kamaru Usman disputar o cinturão? Ele é mais campeão, ele tem nome e tal, mas...
Mano. Tem muita coisa envolvida, né, mano? Tem o que o Makhachev quer, os dois são mesmo empresário. O cara já é um dos maiores de todos os tempos aí da categoria, pra mim o maior. Então, o que vier vai ser bem feito. Eu acredito que, se não for essa luta de cinturão, eu vou fazer mais uma e vou.
E você acha que o Usman tem alguma chance de vencer o cinturão, ou você acha que é uma rodada fácil pro Makhachev?
Now, on a completely different note, there's massive buzz surrounding this UFC White House event. The anticipation is absolutely insane right now, especially after Donald Trump revealed there will be 8 to 9 title fights packed onto this card. Just let that sink in for a moment. 8 to 9 championship bouts on one single event is something we've never seen in UFC history. Everyone wants to see Islam compete on that card, which makes total sense considering his drawing power and star status. A lot of people think it would be the perfect main event if the UFC could book Islam versus Ilia Topuria, which would create this incredible lightweight super fight. But here's where things take an unexpected turn. Khabib is completely against these ideas, and when you hear his explanation, it actually makes a lot of sense. He's breaking down why he doesn't want Islam Makhachev anywhere near the UFC White House card, because he believes that event should spotlight American fighters representing their nation on home soil. From his perspective, and there's definitely logic to this thinking, having a Georgian fighter battle a Russian fighter wouldn't match the patriotic atmosphere that occasion deserves. His vision is for the White House event to feature American athletes defending their country's honor against international competition, and that's exactly how he thinks the entire card should be structured, with that nationalistic theme woven throughout.
Expectations, would you like to see, Umar or Islam on that card?
I think if you're making in White House fight, it's have to be more American fighters. I think it's have to be more American fighters. It's very interesting. If Georgian fighter fight against Russian fighter, it's not interesting in front of White House. It's have to be something like American fighters represent their country and they fight against other guys. It seems like it's have to be like this. The way how I see it.
So Islam Makhachev is breaking down exactly why Khabib doesn't want him taking that White House fight, and it goes way deeper than just symbolism or political correctness. From Islam's explanation, These special venue situations create too many unpredictable factors and potential distractions that can genuinely mess with a fighter's performance. In Khabib's mind, certain locations bring additional pressures and obligations that can seriously disrupt the normal preparation process in ways that regular fight weeks simply don't present. Islam references his bout in Australia as the perfect case study for this exact problem, where he and his entire team found themselves managing unexpected complications throughout fight week, dealing with logistical nightmares and situations they never saw coming. All of that made the fight way more challenging than it needed to be, considering who he was actually facing in the octagon. He emphasizes that the White House event represents completely uncharted territory, something the combat sports world has never attempted before. Nobody has any clue how the actual event will unfold when it's showtime, what security protocols will be enforced, what limitations might be imposed, and Khabib refuses to let the team navigate unnecessary complications that could potentially cost Islam his championship. It's that protective mentor approach where you control every variable that's within your power.
Сказал, что не хотел бы, чтобы ты дрался на турнире в Белом доме. Вы с ним уже обсуждали эту тему?
Честно, еще не обсуждали эту тему. Ну, Хаиб иногда бывает говорит, что в Абу-Даби тоже особо не хотел бы, потому что бывает отвлекающих факторов очень много. Именно в Абу-Даби, может быть, даже в Белом доме то же самое. Первый турнир, мы не знаем, как что подойдет, но мы уже на таком уровне, что мы должны заранее все спланировать, все, что, например, тот же бой мой в Австралии, много чего пришлось сделать по ходу боя. Много там моментов было, которые впервые в жизни мы столкнулись, и из-за этого был такой тяжелый бой. Из-за этого, может, и Хаиб говорит, что мы знаем, как что будет, и особо не хочет там что.
But here's something that's really getting under Islam Makhachev's skin. He's genuinely frustrated with how the UFC has been handling their recent matchmaking decisions, and you can tell this is eating at him when it comes to division management. He's calling out how the winner of Gaethje versus Pimblett will jump straight into a title opportunity, while Arman Tsarukyan gets pushed to the sidelines once again. From his perspective, the promotion keeps creating fights that make zero sense from a merit-based standpoint, and he's convinced that Arman has legitimately earned the next shot based on his recent performances and current ranking position. What's really eating at everyone involved, and this is the most frustrating part of the whole situation, is that this means Arman will be stuck waiting on the bench even longer than he already has been, potentially another entire year before he gets his championship opportunity. That's an eternity in a fighter's career peak to just sit around while other people jump ahead of you in line.
А то, что дали это Gaethje, да, конечно. Не знаю, пусть люди, пусть организация обижается, но сейчас непонятные, все больше непонятных боев для меня. Я не знаю, я думаю, конечно, что Арман должен был драться за пояс. Но, не знаю, вот сейчас, если Арман, будем честны, Арман сейчас не подерется. Подерется Пимблett с Gaethje, кто бы из них не выиграл, подерутся с Тапурией. Это еще год должен Арман выстаивать. Не знаю. Тяжелое, конечно. Но у меня тоже было так же в карьере. Я 10 боев провел, чтобы добраться до пояса. 10 победных боев. Арман, наверное, надо чуть подождать, потерпеть теперь.
Daniel Cormier is also backing Arman Tsarukyan's case for a shot at some version of the UFC Lightweight Championship, and when DC weighs in on divisional politics, his opinion carries serious weight given his background. He acknowledges that serving as a backup fighter and taking on Dan Hooker were necessary steps to rebuild the organization's trust after whatever behind-the-scenes issues happened previously. But Cormier is absolutely insistent on this next point, and he gets really passionate about it, that Arman has completely earned his shot at championship gold based purely on what he's accomplished inside the octagon. Here's exactly what Daniel Cormier said, and you can feel the conviction behind his analysis. Listen, I understand the situation completely, but stepping in as the backup fighter, taking the Dan Hooker fight, those were all moves designed to rebuild that organizational confidence and get him back in line for a title shot. I still firmly believe that Arman Tsarukyan should be competing for some version of the UFC Lightweight Championship. There are plenty of people who think he's the best lightweight on the planet now that Islam has moved up. While Cormier clarifies that he's not necessarily in that camp himself, there's a substantial number of people who believe Arman deserves his title shot immediately. He deserves that title fight. DC repeats with emphasis. His fighting style creates problems for every single guy who's competing for championship gold right now. Daniel Cormier also points out that the BMF title will be defended again, with Max Holloway putting it on the line, making him a legitimate threat for the lightweight championship down the road. Cormier believes Arman Tsarukyan remains a top contender regardless of how things play out in January. And he insists that Arman deserves his title opportunity as soon as possible. Daniel Cormier continued building his case. There's going to be a champion crowned in January. That champion is going to return sometime during next year. The BMF title gets defended. Max Holloway defends that belt again. Now he becomes a legitimate challenger for the lightweight champion. Arman Tsarukyan, I think he's either exactly where he started or once we get through January. I don't know if he'll be further back than where he was. I think it's absolutely insane. He repeats for emphasis. I think it's absolutely insane. This guy is the #1 contender, and he has to get his opportunity. Now speaking specifically about the BMF belt, Justin Gaethje is eyeing a rematch with either Max Holloway or Charles Oliveira to capture that BMF title for himself. He believes that if Ilia Topuria decides to move up in weight, which has been heavily rumored, it would create the perfect opportunity for him to face either Holloway or Oliveira again, potentially securing both the lightweight championship and the BMF belt in the process. BMF belt in one incredible move.
Topuria, right? Because we'd love to see you unify the belt with Ilia Topuria if things go to plan at UFC 324. But do you believe that Topuria hangs around the division? Are you hoping you get a chance to unify the belt against him? Or do you think he might be going up to do this whole Islam thing potentially? Who knows, maybe at the White House or something?
I guess I don't really have an opinion. I mean, if he went up, I would just be the champion, which I would, I'm not going to complain about. But I think what that leaves open is the chance for me to get a rematch against Max Holloway or Charles Oliveira, get my belt and get the BMF belt. And ultimately, that was the script I've been speaking into existence since the Fiziev fight. I thought I was going to fight Ilia in January, and then I was going to fight Max or whoever had to be Max or Oliver. Now they're fighting, but before it was just Max. I was going to fight Max in the White House card and then have both those belts.
But Charles Oliveira has his sights locked on another title fight as well, and Dubronx is absolutely starving to return to championship status. He's convinced that defeating Max Holloway would immediately put him back in the title picture without any doubt whatsoever. According to him, he creates more excitement and fan interest than the two fighters who are competing for the interim championship, which is a confident statement but not unreasonable given his highlight reel finishing ability and his status as a fan favorite. He's promising the kind of spectacular performance that reminds everyone exactly why he's considered one of the most dangerous lightweights walking the planet. In his mind, a victory would lock up his position as the next title challenger, and honestly, it's tough to argue against that reasoning when you look at his track record.
O UFC não é um jogo, né? Você tem que aprender a jogar com ele, senão você vai ficando para trás. Vamos voltar um pouco. O Topuria tá passando um momento ruim da vida dele ali, e ele pediu um momento de poder ficar, né? O Topuria pra poder ficar fora. Então a gente tem aí dois caras que vão lutar pelo cinturão em janeiro. Interino. Né? Interino. E aí, 2 meses pra frente, eu luto pelo BMF. Eu acho que, com todo o respeito do mundo, eu vendo muito mais do que os dois que vão lutar pelo título, tenho muito mais carisma do que os dois que vão lutar pelo título. Então, querendo ou não, eu já entro com o pé com força ali na beirada. O Arman, pra mim, era ele que ia lutar pelo título. O interino ou o linear, um dos dois, na minha mente ali. Porém, eu não sei o que acontece que não colocaram. Então, querendo ou não, eu acho que eu vendo muito mais do que o Arman. Então, se eu vencer, não. Eu vou vencer, vou fazer uma grande luta e eu vou vencer essa luta. E sendo uma grande luta e eu vencendo, eu acho que eu estouro a bolha e eu sou o próximo a disputar o título de novo.
Now here's where things get really interesting. Paddy Pimblett is claiming he plans to stand and bang with Justin Gaethje. And if you know anything about Gaethje's striking power, you understand that's an incredibly risky game plan. He's predicting that he'll actually finish Gaethje, which requires either genuine confidence or some really good acting going into a fight of this magnitude. According to him, most people expect him to lean heavily on his grappling skills, which makes perfect sense given his submission background, but that's not going to be his approach whatsoever. From his perspective, Gaethje won't survive past the 3rd round, similar to what happened in the Michael Chandler fight, where Gaethje got stopped. That's a huge prediction when you consider Gaethje's proven durability and championship experience.
To be honest, because I think I'm going to knock him out, so people won't expect that. People think I'm just going to try and grapple and take him down when I'm not. I'm going to come out and I'm going to put it on.
Expecting an early knockout.
Paddy also took some shots at Arman and broke down why he thinks the UFC made the correct choice by not handing him the title shot, which is obviously going to stir up some drama. In Paddy's opinion, Arman wasn't genuinely injured at UFC 311 and created excuses because he couldn't make the weight cut, which is a pretty serious allegation if it's accurate. Paddy also goes after Arman for refusing the fight with Matchmaking Gamrot, who has already defeated him previously, suggesting that Arman is cherry-picking his opponents and avoiding tough stylistic matchups. From Paddy's perspective, all of these factors irritated the boss Dana White, and he's handling the situation correctly by teaching Arman a lesson about how the UFC operates and what's expected from legitimate contenders.
It's about 65, you know what I mean? He's got a full head of grey hair. He beat Dariush. He didn't beat Charles Oliveira. A lot of people didn't think he won that fight. On his way out of the cage, he punched the fan. Got banned. UFC probably had to pay a big fucking fee for the fella not to sue him. He then got his title shot and, oh, I've got a bad back. Fucking got beat by back pain when really he probably just couldn't even make weight. Sits out for fucking, 11 months. Gets offered the fight in the meantime against Gamrot, says no. When, if I ever got offered the fight against someone who'd beat me, I'd be taking that fight immediately. Then fights Dan Hooker, headbutts him at the weigh-in. No, so like nearly ruined another main event. Like, you can understand why he's not in that position. And as much as I like Dan Hooker, lad, he's sound. He's shit. He can't grapple to save his life. He couldn't grapple if his Mars life depended on it, lad. You know what I mean? If I had that guillotine wrapped up on arm, he's going unconscious.
Justin Gaethje responded to Arman Tsarukyan's offer to help him prepare for his fight with Paddy Pimblett, and Gaethje is reading the situation pretty carefully here. He's suggesting it seemed less like Arman genuinely wanting to help with preparation and more like positioning himself strategically against Paddy for political reasons. While he acknowledges that Arman would make an excellent training partner given his skill set, he can't make dramatic changes to his camp this late in the preparation process. Beyond that, since he might face Arman down the road, training together would be strategically unwise because you'd be revealing your entire game plan and fighting style.
And then Tsarukyan wants to help you train for Paddy Pimblett. Did you see that? He wants to offer his services to you.
Yeah, I saw that. I mean, I would say that from my perspective, that was more of him trying to go against Paddy rather than help me. But, I'm not going to go and start making drastic changes in my training camps when it comes to getting ready for these fights. Now, I trust the team that I have. I will bring in training partners, but ultimately, I'm not going to bring in guys that I'm probably and possibly going to fight in the future. I got nothing against. I mean, he'd be a great training partner, but ultimately, I might have to fight him one day. So that'd be not smart.
Alexander Volkanovski is still laser-focused on achieving two-division champion status, which has been his ultimate goal for several years now, and he's specifically targeting rematches against Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria, the two fighters who have handed him defeats recently. He admits he can't just demand a champion versus champion fight right away, showing that he understands the political realities of how these big fights get made. But he's explaining that after dismantling Diego Lopez convincingly and possibly defeating another undefeated contender after that, it would be completely reasonable to start pushing for those massive high-profile matchups. He's constructing his argument step by step.
Well, I'd love to rematch, and get them wins back on like Islam Makhachev or Ilia Topuria, but I'm pretty real with it. I understand that, I can't just call for a champ fight right now. I know I've got work to do in my division. Being a champion is a responsibility, and I take that serious. I know I've got guys in my division, and I don't want to hold up the division. So I want to do what I need to do, and then you never know. Maybe after what I said I'm planning on doing in Sydney, Feb 1st, go do that, and then maybe have the turnaround, and then get another victory over undefeated guy. Maybe that's, I think that's fair enough to be calling for maybe a champ fight then. But
Volk also wants to make it crystal clear that he has zero plans to hang up the gloves anytime soon, despite some people wondering about his future after those recent losses. His focus is on facing elite fighters like Lerone Murphy and Movsar Evlov, which would create some absolutely fascinating stylistic puzzles to solve. He believes those matchups would add significant value to his legacy by collecting quality victories over top-tier undefeated fighters. and they represent the type of challenging tests that would push different elements of his skill set.
Will this be your last time in the octagon?
Yeah, I'm seeing that everywhere as well. I don't know where that come from. No, it's not. It hasn't been planned to be my last fight, so you don't need to really worry about that. I think you're going to just take it as it goes from here on, but there's definitely no plans of that. My plans are going out there and, as I told you, not taking too much damage, going out there, really setting a statement, and make it, be really impressive in there, and then maybe get a quick turnaround. I think you've got a couple of other guys as well, like Movzar, Lerone Murphy. They're undefeated and all that, so they're, for the legacy, they look like they might be pretty good as well. So we'll see what happens. This one, do this in Sydney, put on a show, but again, definitely no plans for that.
Alexander Volkanovski shows real empathy for Movsar Evloev missing out on his title opportunity, and you can tell the sympathy is genuine. He remembers pushing for Movsar immediately after his victory over Diego Lopez, knowing that Evloev had legitimately earned his shot through his undefeated record and divisional ranking, but when Evloev was forced to withdraw due to injury, that opportunity vanished and the division kept moving forward like it always does. Volkanovski says he genuinely feels bad for him because Movsar had completely earned that chance through his performances inside the octagon, and losing it through circumstances beyond his control in terms of actual fighting ability is really unfortunate.
Well, I called for Movsar straight after the fight. Then I knew he was going to be fighting. Then he pulled out. I knew he was meant to maybe postpone, and then he didn't take it. And I'm like, well, there goes your opportunity. So that wasn't long before I knew that wouldn't happen. That's the thing, man. I feel for him in a sense where I know he definitely deserved. That's why I called for him. But I totally understand how this game works. You can't be that guy. You got to be the guy that's willing to fight anyone, anywhere. Put your hand up.
The featherweight champion explains that everything will depend on whether Movsar Evloev and Lerone Murphy take other fights first, or whether they face each other to establish a clear #1 contender. He's committed to fighting both of them eventually, regardless of which matchup gets finalized, and he wants them to know they won't lose their opportunity to face him for the title. However, he warns that waiting around too long wouldn't be smart in this business because divisions evolve rapidly, and championship opportunities can evaporate if you're not staying active and relevant.
Lerone did do that. Lerone Murphy fought a guy at short notice in Pico and got a massive finish, so I thought it was going to be him in December. Then I knew the UFC were waiting for John Silva and Diego, so I was like, oh, maybe it's going to be one of these guys. Let's see what happens. Let's see if this is going to be a fun fight. And it was, and that's where they went with it. But it don't matter. We'll see what happens, whether Movsar and Lerone fight somebody or each other. Prove themselves, and then I'll fight them straight after. So don't worry, they won't miss their opportunity if they back themselves, take on another fight then, or wait, whatever. But I mean, I don't think waiting is a good idea. As I said, take your opportunities just like Lopez did, and then this is where you'll be.
All right, that wraps up everything we've covered in today's breakdown, and hopefully you found this comprehensive look at all the lightweight and welterweight division drama as fascinating as I did. Drop your thoughts about what's happening in both the lightweight and welterweight divisions in the comments below, because I'm really interested to hear what you think about all these potential matchups and who deserves their shot next. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more compelling MMA content covering all the breaking news, detailed breakdowns, and expert analysis from the wild world of mixed martial arts.